Hello everyone, this is Julie from the Winds Lodge. I'm the prefect if you haven't met me before. Welcome to our mood for Lunasa. And today I'm going to be discussing a topic that I'm pretty excited about, which is how to use a cast iron cauldron in your magical workings. So, even though this seems like common sense, you would be surprised because it really took me some time and some practice to be able to use a cast iron cauldron properly and to know how. So, I'm just here to help guide you, hopefully, so that you avoid some of the same mistakes that I made when I was learning how to use a cast iron cauldron. So, if you don't know, what is a cast iron cauldron? Well, it tends to be a cauldron that looks like this. So this tends to be more solid. And the reason why I started using this is because I felt that, for a long time I was a bit in denial about being a witch, actually, or a wizard, or somebody that practices magic. For a long time, I really thought that I was just more of an astrologer or tarot reader or somebody that was kind of interested in these types of topics. And, as time went along, I realized that I had leanings more towards using magic and I figured out eventually that I'm the type of person that uses herbs and spells and whatnot. So it's sort of like I was kind of in hiding for a long time, but now I openly embrace that aspect of my life, and it's not something that I really make an attempt to hide as much anymore. So why why use this? Well, I feel that when I use this, it makes me feel very proud. But there's also some very practical reasons why I end up using a cast iron cauldron within my magical workings. One of them is because what happens is that I would normally use, in the past, I would use an incense stick. I still use an incense stick, but you'll find that what happens that when you use this incense stick is that you'll stick the incense on here and you'll light it up, and a lot of times it'll start burning, and you'll find that the ashes scatter pretty much everywhere. And this really becomes a nuisance because, as you can see here, I'm using a black velvet altar cloth, so to get ash on my altar cloth would be kind of upsetting to me. Look, I'd have to take all these crystals off, and then I'd have to go wash the altar cloth in the sink and, lay it out to dry, so it really becomes a nuisance, to have to go through that process of cleaning my altar cloth because it got dirty. So, for that reason, if I still use incense sticks like this, but what I tend to do is that I would probably only use it on a completely flat surface that has nothing around. You see, so if any ash falls on the side, I'm able to take it off pretty easily and quickly, and it does not upset my life in any way. So, um, all right, and another option that I thought of that I thought was gonna help solve this issue about getting ash anywhere is I got an abalone shell. I tend to like using this abalone shell whenever I'm doing house cleansings. So that means that I like to step outside and I like to, light up the sage, and then I'll probably use a feather or one of these for house cleansing. So this helps clear up the energetic space of the house and helps the house be in a happy, nice space, happy, peaceful space. But what happens is that when I'm using this, um, it's the same issue, which is that the ashes tend to fall out, and it can get to be a little bit irritating to feel like you're cleansing, and then you're simultaneously making a mess, right? So, at some point, I remember watching. I personally used to work on a free reading group online, and I remember that one of the other readers was a witch, and I remember that he had one of these, and I saw it, and I thought, wow, that's really cool, and then I went and got one myself, and over time, I just never knew how to properly use this. Now, there's a few reasons why I really love using cast iron cauldron as a magical tool. One of them is that I really love the aspect of how you can use blends for this. So what that means is that, let's say I have frankincense here, right? So let's say I can use a mortar and pestle, and I got this from Magic Alley, by the way. So I can use this mortar and pestle, crush up my frankincense. Okay, so this is making a little bit. Frankincense is flying out, but it's okay. I can pick it up pretty easily. So I can crush this up, right? And so now I can use this as an incense blend. But the cool part about having resins, incense resins, is that it can be a blend of other stuff. So it's not necessarily just one scent. So I can have now my frankincense. I can mix in copal if I want to. I have some copal sitting here. So, as you can see, basically what this means is that it gets kind of fun and creative to be able to put different stuff in there. So it's not always just the same thing or the same incense stick, and so this ends up making your magic a lot more diverse and versatile, so that you now have different methods of doing things. And if I wanted to, I can even crush up some flowers, some herbs, right? So I can take stuff like lavender buds, I can take rosemary from my backyard, I can take some rue, I can take rose petals, rose buds, depending on whatever I'm doing. So I think that when you get into using incense like that, it can really end up being a fun creative process. So I'm still crushing up this copal a little bit, but now this is good to go. So, alright, so let me show you a few things about how to use a cast iron cauldron properly. Okay, so first of all, when you're using a cast iron cauldron, you're typically going to be using a charcoal disc that you're going to be heating up. Now, I want to recommend, first of all, if you've never used these, I suggest you get something that can help you hold it at a distance, so that when you light it up, because this thing is going to sizzle for a while. It's going to start sizzling, and then what that means is that you really can't touch it anymore. So you can't, if you end up like holding it and then trying to use a lighter, you're going to end up burning your own hand, and it's going to be painful. So I also recommend that if you're going to use a cast iron cauldron, this is one thing I didn't learn until way later after making mistakes. If you use a cast iron cauldron, make sure that you put sea salt on the bottom or some sand. Now the reason why this is important is because what happens is that when you burn your charcoal disc and it's kind of flaming and it's sizzling and it's on fire, it's going to burn, and then what happens is that with this cauldron, it's gonna start sizzling on the bottom too, you know. So eventually it's gonna start impacting the tool itself. So by putting the sand and the salt in here, you're actually protecting the tool itself so that it can withstand the heat of this charcoal disc. Now I'm gonna go ahead and light this up so that you understand what this process looks like when you're lighting up the charcoal disc. And then once I have the charcoal disc lit up, I'm going to put the resins on top. Alright, there you go. You hear how it's sizzling? So this is going to stay lit for quite a while. Now all I have to do is drop it in here. And the fun part about this is now I have these resins that I crushed up, so now they're really powders. These are going to last for a while. I'm going to put them on top. Great. Alright, so now you see how this works. And I'm smelling it right now. And I used frankincense and copal. Um, Frankincense is good as a purifier. It's quite strong. It is very cleansing. Copal is also a cleanser, but it's a little bit more feminine in essence, and copal is famous for being used to be able to talk to spirits. Copal is used often in Mexico, and it's an incense that's used often during the Day of the Dead, um, for people to be able to connect to their loved ones and spirits. So that's my little tidbit about this. And one more final thing, just for fun. I love using herbs as well as part of my incense blends. This one is spikenard. Um, Spikenard used to be used in Tibet. Spikenard is very good for anxiety, stress, and tension, and it helps you sleep. So I'm putting this also. And now, so not only am I cleansing by putting in the frankincense and the copal, so it kind of creates a nice sweet environment, the cleansing, powerful environment, but I also put some spikenard in here, which means that this is going to kind of help clear the air energetically, and it's going to probably help me relax and probably just help me be able to sleep better. So spikenard is also good for creating harmony and creating balance in relationships. So I hope this was helpful to you, and if you have any questions for me, let me know and I'll be free to answer them. I'll be free during the rest of the moot, and you're free to ask me about any of these things that I brought up during this presentation. Thank you.